I feel like Niner fans have a complete warped perception of the quarterback position in general because of their defense. Like every quarterback that comes to town and plays the Niners struggles, except for Patrick Mahomes. So Niner fans, you mentioned Dak. Oh, he sucks. Gino, he sucks. Like Tom Brady technically sucked against the Niners last year. Aaron Rodgers sucks against the Niners all the time. But Niner fans think, oh, Brock Purdy's that guy. He's so great. Okay, what if Brock Purdy was on the Seahawks and had to play the Niners? What if he was on the Cowboys and had to play the Niners? Like, he would, quote unquote, suck too because he's going against the best defense. So that brings me to Trey. Trey played against that defense every day in camp, and it didn't go so well. And a lot of people hold that against him like, it was really rough in camp. Like, yeah, man, he was going against the best defense in the league. Look what Brady looked like in a real game against that defense. And look what Jimmy looked like against that defense in camp the year before. It wasn't good. And then when he went out and had a typical Jimmy year after that, like it didn't really mean anything. So I think when Trey and Sam are both getting their butts kicked this offseason in camp by this defense, kind of keep it in perspective.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't thought of, especially because I have heard a lot of negative things about Trey as a practice player, but my pushback has always been, I don't see those during the games. He's never been as bad as people are telling me he's been in the actual game. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's just like, hey, this defense is really freaking good, especially
look what Dak Prescott looked like again. Dak Prescott threw 37 touchdown passes 2 years ago. In his 2 playoff games against the Niners, he's put up a pass rating of like 63. He freaking sucks against the Niners. But he doesn't suck. I mean, the Niners would be, lucky to have Dak Prescott. They could do great things with Dak Prescott,
yes,
but really the only quarterback who looks good against the Niners defense when it's rolling is Mahomes. Maybe Josh Allen. Not even Burrow.
And that's interesting too, because Kyle always says he values practice more than games. He said it multiple times, particularly during the preseason. And so if Trey is going out in practice and struggling against the defense, is it skewing Kyle's perception of Trey Lance?
Yes. And then think about this. Everyone loves Brock Purdy right now. He didn't have to go through that trial. He's never had that scrutiny. So wait until he's QB1 and has to do an entire offseason when people are charting his throws against the 49ers defense. It happened to Jimmy. It's not, and everyone's going to be like, oh my God, the elbow's messed up. No, it's the Niners defense. It's really good. And Brock didn't have to face that yet. It's going to be rough.
Jose Batista says, Jose Batista, former Toronto Blue Jay in the chat. That'd be pretty
Joey
sweet.
Bats.
I wish Kyle would just come out and say Trey's the starter, Sam is QB2 until Purdy is healthy, so y'all could just shut up already. Me too. I would like to know that as well.
No, I like the competition, man. But keep Trey working, dude. Keep Trey working. I like
John
it.
Mitchell
Bring out the best in him.
Also, the defense knows all the plays. That's a good point,
yeah.
too.
I mean, can you think about it this way? This is what it was going like when Fred Warner's on the field. It's near impossible to throw over. It's really hard to throw over the middle. Okay,
Yep.
So now you're working the edges, Trey Lance, and you didn't have Debo most of the time. So it's like Brandon Ayuk and Ray McLeod against Emmanuel Mosley and Travarius Ward. That's tough, man. It's
Who know
really
the plays?
hard, and they know the plays. I'm not trying to make excuses, but what do you expect? 70% completions. What do you expect?
I think that's fair, especially when you look at too, like what has Kyle had to evaluate Trey? He's had. In terms of games versus practice, 90% practice, 10% game. So Trey hasn't even had the opportunity to kind of turn that perception around because he hasn't played enough. So,
right. So that means 90% of his perception is him going against the Niners defense in practice. Yes.
That's
crazy.
Actually really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't
him in scout team going against the Niners defense. Him in training camp going against the Niners defense. Like, yeah, man, that's going to look rough. I remember Tom Brady against that defense. He looked like he was 57 years old. And then Tua looked like he crapped his pants on the field.
And
he wanted no part of that.
Too, right? Brock comes in and plays right away because he has to replace Jimmy, and he plays well. And then he has a week of practice, and I don't know how Kyle felt about Brock and prep. Maybe it was like, I don't know. But then he got in the game. And what did he do in the game again? He played well again in the game. So even if the practice after that was not as good, it's like, well, he looked pretty good in the game, so...
But Brock didn't have to face a defense anywhere near the Niners defense until Dallas. And then he put up 19 points. And then the next week he couldn't get to the second quarter. So Brock still has a lot to prove.
That's a fascinating point. I would love, I don't know how you get to the bottom of that, but I would love to get to the bottom of that because
time will play this out. Like we'll see what happens with Brock because now he's going to have the weight of the world on his shoulders as QB1. Maybe not this year, but next year for sure.
Mark Salaz watching on YouTube. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Grant, you're actually making sense. What do you mean, Grant? How about
one
Grant
day out of the week,
Rob?
baby? One day. So you got to get me at 9 a.m. to make sense. It's like first period.
We go.
Yeah.
So God, that would be so nice. But I disagree with what you said about keep Trey Lance working. Give him the job.
Fair enough.
Give him the job. Don't take a single rep away from him. For Sam Darnold? No. No. If you want to say have Trey and Brock fight it out, I'm there with you. But not for Sam. Sam hasn't earned.
For the sake of Trey's development?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
100%.
The only reason I would say that this is good is because of this stupid, clicky, politicky locker room stuff. And I feel like if Trey's going to like take over the locker room like Brock did, he has to beat out like Sam's their friend. He has to show them all that he's better than Sam, because I think a couple of these guys are thinking Sam's better. It's stupid, but it's the culture that Kyle's created. And I think, even yesterday, a lot of Niner fans disagree with me on this, but George Kittle sending Trey a cake for his birthday and saying, "Dude's boy turning 19." Like, again, like that's a little brother dig. Like, dude, you got to tell him to shut the hell up, like Brock did. In a forceful way, if you want to be the leader of the team. So I don't know.
That's interesting, because Kittle was kind of giving it to Brock also, though. Like, with the T-shirt after the game, and Brock pushed back on that.
Brock pushed back. So, Brock pushed back. Trey, you got to push back.
Maybe he did. Trey remember Trey with Rich Eisen talking about, Fred Warner doesn't want the smoke.
I like that. That was the best he's done so far. That was good. Yeah. Keep doing that. Yeah.
And at this point, like, dude, what do you have to lose? Right?
Honestly, man.
You're already on your way out.
I like that. Put a chip on your shoulder, act like this team doesn't like you, and then kick their butts in practice if you can. It's not an easy, but you're not going to kick the Niners' butts, defense's butt in practice, but you could do better than Sam Darnold. It's a pretty low bar. You could do better than that.
And the thing we're talking about that might be biasing Kyle Shanahan could also be biasing the players against Trey also, because they're in the practice and they're like, hey, this guy doesn't really look that good. I don't get it. And he hasn't had a chance to be on the field to play against.
Okay, put your friend Sam Darnold on the field against Fred Warner. Let's see how it looks. Okay.
Right.
Shut up. It's fine.
That's gonna
As Brock Purdy would say.
I do want to see Trey go out there and be like, this is my job. Like, he probably won't. I'm sure he'll say, like, hey, I just want to compete and all that. But I want him to be like, this is my job. You guys brought me in here to lead the team, and I'm going to go lead it. And sorry, Sam, I'll help you in any way I can, but you're behind me. The line starts behind 5.
You know whose attitude was like that? Steve Young's.
Yes.
If Steve Young was in this position, it was like him against Steve Bono fighting it out in 1992. Like, Steve wouldn't be that nice about it. Well, Steve was a lot older at that point.
Do you remember when the 49ers drafted Giovanni Carmazzi?
Yes.
And he was like supposed to be the guy. And Steve Young said, they picked him. I was a little nervous. And then I saw him throw in the first practice and I was like, I ain't got nothing to worry about. He said that. So like that was his attitude.
Yeah. I guess he knew what he was looking at, right? Damn. Giovanni Carmazzi. 3rd round pick? Hofstra?
Yikes. Hofstra. Yep.
Yikes.
Got wrecked in a first preseason game. And that was the end of the Gio Carmazzi era.
Yeah. Yeah. Good name though. Giovanni. I like that.
Yeah. That's nice.
I like that. It's nice.
That's so nice. Now, you know what? Now I kind of feel better about the whole quarterback. So you actually made me feel better about something.
I had that realization this morning. Is like, hold on. Like, so because I was thinking about the Dak Prescott. Someone on Cowboys Twitter was talking about how Dak Prescott doesn't suck, and I was like, no, he does suck. I saw him against the Niners, and I was like, wait a second. Doesn't every quarterback that I see against the Niners suck? Brady, Tua. Everyone, they all suck except for Mahomes. Like, wait a second. So that's how we're judging Trey, right? Because we haven't seen Brock against this defense, and it felt like the end of The Usual Suspects where you just drop your coffee, and I'm like, oh, right. Nice. The best defense makes quarterbacks look bad, of course. Duh. Yeah, that's how I feel.
It's going to be important for Trey to ball out against the Raiders defense when they have that joint practice.
Correct. Absolutely. Because really 2 years ago, he had an opportunity to take the job from Jimmy in a joint practice against the Chargers, and he didn't quite distance himself. He was 21 years old at the time. But yeah, he'll get another opportunity against the Raiders.
He is younger than all but 4 quarterbacks that just got drafted last month. Like, think about it. He's been in the league for 2 years, and he's younger than all but 4 quarterbacks that were just drafted.
So think about it. Let's say he gets buried in the Niners depth chart by Brock Purdy, and they just shelve him, and he leaves in 2024. He'll still be like 24 years old. A team could sign him for nothing and act like they just got a really talented young quarterback on a reclamation project. I mean, he's younger than Sam Darnold is. He would be younger than Sam Darnold right now. So like the whole Trey Lance arc is interesting. Like the Niners are kind of wasting his time, but if I were another team, just because I wouldn't trade for him now doesn't mean I wouldn't be interested in him in 2 years on the
Yeah,
free
I
agent
mean, if
market.
all he costs
Yeah.
you is money, you might as well take a flyer on him. There's no
Yes.
downside to that.
Still
That's
young.
the weird
Yeah.
part of this whole thing. No matter what happens, the 49ers are going to have a quarterback question, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if Trey comes in and he's playing good and Brock is healthy all of a sudden, what do they do then? Do they bench Trey? Do they go with Brock? What if they decide to stick with Trey and then it starts to get rocky? What kind of a leash does he hit? Like there are quarterback questions that are going to have to be answered here no matter what.
How about this though? Let's say, Trey plays a little bit this year. It's pretty good, but then Brock comes back and he plays well and they don't pick up Trey's 5th-year option, but somehow Trey ends up playing in 2024 and doing what Daniel Dimes did, right? Just balling out in a contract year with no 5th-year option. Then what do the Niners do? Do you give him $40 million a year? Like they're setting themselves up to give a lot of money to a quarterback who has a good contract year. You know what I mean? I mean, they do that a lot. Kind of like the Jordan Poole situation with the Warriors or the Jimmy Garoppolo situation. I'm curious to see if the Niners do that again.
Well, and that's something that Vish brought up on Monday, which is like, okay, let's say that they've decided it's Sam and he gets in there and Sam plays well. Are you going to re-sign Sam Darnold to a big contract? Because then you don't have the thing you've been saying is the most important thing, which is the young quarterback on a super cheap contract. So again, there's no reason to play Sam Darnold.
Well, they keep changing what they want at quarterback. They said they wanted a super quarterback. Now they want a cheap quarterback. And the thing is, I feel like Kyle will always push back and be like, I can do this with another quarterback. And John's so like eager to stop the search. And if Sam Darnold plays well for 3 games, he'll probably approach him with a lifetime contract. I don't know. Maybe it feels like Kyle and John are on different ends here. Kyle thinks he can win with anyone, and Giles like, Can we please stop the quarterback search so I can retire and be an announcer again? Damn.
David Velez says Giovanni Carmazzi is one of the Brady 6, the 6 quarterbacks picked before Brady. Whoopsie doodle. Yeah, I believe he's a sheep herder now. And I say that like in seriousness. At one point, he was like a shepherd.